This is probably going to be my last video of 2012, so might as well talk about 2012. I know, I understand that often in my writings and lately in these blogs that I've done, the message and the words have been, I don't want to say it, but in a sense almost to the point of complaining. Why does nothing ever change in the world? Why won't people hear simple messages of equality and oneness? What is it that people have against the idea that all life is equal, that everyone should have an opportunity for a dignified life here on earth? And not just people, but plants and animals. And this, to an extent, has been complaining. It's frustration, in a sense, that in the last 3 or 4 years, since I've begun this process of equalizing myself within and as the physical, equalizing my inner with the outer. In other words, the expression that people see of me, equalizing that with what goes on inside and as the mind. And during this time, as I said before, I don't recall one single person that I've spoken with, gone so far as to push the idea that has in any way, shape, or form said, yeah, this equality and oneness, equality for all life on earth, is the way things should be, and I'm going to look more into this. On the contrary, most of the people have rejected the concept, rejected the idea, and instead took a stand against equality. Obviously, the people I'm talking to, that I've talked to, for the most part, such as myself, have benefited tremendously from a system that is based on inequality. In this world, it has been that if one is born with a white face, right there, has placed him or her in a position over others. It's psychological. It's the way the system has worked for so long. Then if one was born into let's say, a white middle-class family with the opportunity of an education, well, it just placed one in a not equal advantage over others. And granted, for the most part, the people that I have spoken with about equality, changing this world, stopping the consumption process, and establishing a new process system that views all life equally. have basically all had the same, for the most part, had the same ideas in terms of reactions to me. Oh, you're just like Buddhism. No, not at all, just like Buddhism. Anyway, so it's been, a lot of my videos have, as I see it, been done in frustration. So this video leave out a little bit of that frustration. I have seen changes, especially this year, and I guess you could say beginning in last year, changes that don't yet, are perhaps not yet representative of real changes, in that the outflows have not have yet to be seen regarding those changes, mostly in the media, in that which is which will affect the minds of the masses to an extent. It goes both ways. There's been the media that has isn't changing for what is best for all. On the contrary, they're building up their defenses. And then there's segments of the media. I would say they've been infiltrated by beings and are impulsing this change. But for example, let's say the movie I watched the other night, Cloud Atlas, and more within that movie were certain words just thrown out there. But when the mind hears those words, the way the mind is as such, when the mind hears certain words at certain frequencies, the mind will react in a certain way. Well, that's the mind's programmable. That's one of the ways human beings have apparently been programmed over the centuries, is through words spoken at certain frequencies or written, words that carry certain frequencies, probably from the base program within our DNA, when spoken will elicit certain changes. That's how you can reprogram a human. So I have seen this process underway of impulsing human beings to just to be able to hear. That's how I see that is going. Impulsing them, introducing words that have almost always been in our vocabulary, yet have been defined incorrectly, defined in an almost humorous manner, or defined to show one thing, but actually in real meaning indicate the reverse. As with the word live, we're actually in the reverse of to live, as in evil. Instead of living one with and equal to what is physically here, we're doing the reverse of that and consuming what is physically here to experience ourselves in the mind as energy, happiness, love, and light. It's interesting, what I've realized about happiness, love, and light is that those that embrace it to such an extent and create it in their minds, in the illusion, are actually just suppressing the negative And therein lies the evil, because when you suppress a negative, refuse to see it, you allow it to build up, compound. And that's what's happening right now. But getting back to 2012, so I see that things have changed. I'm slowly seeing the changes, not the results, not yet the result of those changes. As I see it, we're still walking through, and probably will be for quite some time now, walking through compounded consequence of time that's built up to such an extent that it can no longer be obscured by the love and light. So that's what I see happening now. I guess it's interesting. And the cool thing is that I can look at this. I do see it. I do pay close attention to what's happening in the world, the small level and the larger picture, and it rarely moves me. Yeah, so I don't have to. There's no desire to run away from what is here, and I don't. I look at it, although it is still just in pictures. I've seen the reality firsthand, traveled quite a bit. Perhaps I'll do that once again. So in 2012, the changes that have occurred with me, that I've been directing, have for the most part been in the field, on the ship of relationship, singular and plural, regarding friends and family. The key to understand regarding friends and family, my relationships with them, is that where I stand has nothing to do with them. What I do has nothing to do with my family and or friends. It's all about me. It's all about me being able to stand here with nothing to lean on, nothing that would define me, because standing with something to lean on is to be defined by that crutch. And so I've spent a lot of time writing and letting go of that which I used to allow to define me. Obviously, there's still a lot more. I'm just not yet seeing it. Sometimes it seems that I look for that which defines me, and I see little pieces here and there, but sometimes it's just a question, perhaps, of walking space-time to encounter certain situations, time loops, if you will, and transcend those points that I've allowed to define me, or not transcend them and simply have to face them again. And one of the points this year that I've been focusing on is relationships, letting go of the relationships. Because what is a relationship but a ship, a platform on which two or more or one mind consciousness systems communicate with each other, decide that each mind is supportive of the other mind's definition, and within that say, yeah, let's support each other and stand here as minds within and as the definitions, the energetically created definitions of ourselves. Meanwhile, the being, the expression of life, is somewhere submerged in a coma. Comatose. That's relationships. Their energy. And they're not real. Love and light. People say, oh, you're against love. No, I'm not against love at all. For true love, which is love of all. If it's love that is more for some and less for others, then what kind of love is that? Just like happiness that only money can buy. Without the money, if the happiness is dependent in any way, shape, or form on money, then it's obviously not real, because as soon as you don't have that money, you don't have that happiness, it no longer exists. It wasn't real in the beginning, and of course when you die, it doesn't go with you, because obviously the money doesn't go into heaven. It was just based on energy. So the goal has been and remains to let go of that which I've allowed to define me for so long, so as to stand undefined here in as the physical, which it's what is here. I mean, it's what we can touch. It's the closest thing to real that I can see, touch, smell. You touch something, you see there's no real interpretation of it. So even that which we see is subject to the interpretation of how we've defined ourselves. It's subject to the definitions of the mind. How real is what we see? How accurate is what we see? I have only ideas about that, and they're probably incorrect also. But the physical, what is here, does not have to be defined by anything, and is capable of directing itself without the definitions that are always based on polarities within and as the mind of energy, going from the positive to the neutral to the negative, circulating around and around, really never actually going anywhere, changing whatsoever, because anything that's based on a polarity, it's just that circle that will always be in balance, meaning as a whole it's in balance, but we're always experiencing it at a point that is balanced but not in balance, balanced within the polarity, but the point is not in balance. We're constantly circulating through those polarities, and I've found them since I've begun stopping my participation in polarities. I found the polarities to just not being, to just be a real like baggage on me. Since the more and more I get rid of those polarities, the more I'm able, and the more I do enjoy me. And so this is another one of those videos. Perhaps I'll post it, perhaps I won't, because I know I see I go all over the place with these videos. So I'll end it here. and perhaps do a different video. That is just on one point.